Ready to get your shit together? Isn't that what we are all truly trying to do? In this fun, life-hackful show, we will learn together how to navigate this roller coaster called life. We, as glorious messy humans, can sit in the proverbial third car, grumpy and bored, or in the front of the roller coaster having the time of our lives. What do you choose? In this show, you can expect meaningful content and practical takeaway tools to make life easier and exceptionally more joyful. There will be epic guests who already love their lives, allowing them to share their get your shit together tips and words of wisdom. Life is too long and too short to not love your life. Welcome to Get Your Shit Together Live with Amy Joy. Hello and welcome to Get Your Shit Together Live with Amy Joy. And I'm your host, Amy Joy. Happy Thursday, glorious messy humans, and congratulations on your abundance. I want you to take a look around right now and notice how abundant you truly, truly are. We're programmed to believe we're not, and it's a lie. You have a roof over your head. You have a chair under your butt. You probably have food in your belly. You're looking at a TV or a phone right now. You are abundant. So take that in. Think about all the humans in your life that you love and that love you. You're so, so abundant. I'm feeling so abundant. We have an amazing guest today. Her name is Risa Kaparo. She is unbelievable. You talk about overcoming. This woman, she has overcome so much, and she has been on a mission for most of her life to help the planet. And we're going to hear about that. We're going to talk about awakening somatic intelligence. We're going to explain that word somatic, and we're going to learn a lot on how to work from the inside out to heal ourselves. She did that at a young age. She literally healed herself from the inside out. So if you are not feeling well or sick, or you know someone who is, get on the phone and get them here now to see this. They can learn a lot. It's a life hack show always. Stay tuned to the end for mantra magic and the meditation moment. Thank you for spending your very precious time with us today. All right, it is now time for Change Your State, Elevate. All right, so Risa said she's going to do Change Your State, so I'm going to formally introduce her, but here she is. Welcome, Risa.
Well, everyone, and thank you so much, Amy. I'm delighted to be here with you at your gorgeous retreat center.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So Change Your State, Elevate is when we just take 3 minutes to change our vibration and raise our frequency. So what do you have for us today?
Well, I love the whole concept of it. And one thing that's been so close to my heart is realizing in my life that I can change my state when I go into a psychobioenergetic black hole that sucks me down. And that all I need is really the space of just a few breaths. And if I attend in the breathing to my somatic intelligence, I can sense, and I'm going to invite everybody to do this with me. We're going to begin with the exhalation because that's where we can make the most shift. If you can exhale starting from the floor of your pelvis and let the floor of your pelvis rise up and continue to empty as if your kidneys had wings and the wings embraced you, and you go to the end of the breath, no straining, and then release those wings and the floor of your pelvis, and just feel the breath coming to you from the infinite. You know, we know that we have starlight from all the most distant stars that come with each breath to infuse us with their life force. So we can receive that with such gratefulness and effortlessness, because if we exhale completely, activating the pelvic floor and the peritoneum along our back, just by unfolding those wings like they're going to close around our heart and embrace us, and then gently allow the natural movement of letting go to take in that starlight and that energy. So you're drinking in the starlight and love and energy from even the most distant stars and the most distant times. And you're exhaling like you're kissing back. So drinking in at your own pace and kissing back completely effortlessly. Each time you kiss back on the exhale, have the sense as you release those wings that enfolded your heart, like you're embracing the entire cosmos, and then allow it to come back. Okay, Amy.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. We'll have you back on in just a minute. All right. I want to formally introduce Risa. So here we go. Let me find her bio here. All right. So it is now time to get our shit together. All right. So Risa Kaparo is an author, spiritual activist, psychotherapist, minister, master yoga teacher, dancer, poet, and songwriter, and the developer of Somatic Learning. Having overcome a life-threatening illness in her youth, she developed this transformative system over 35 years, blending psychological, somatic, and meditative disciplines. As a licensed psychotherapist, she practices in the San Francisco Bay Area and globally via Skype or Zoom. Impacting thousands, Dr. Kaparo's teachings, captured in her book, Awakening Somatic Intelligence, extend internationally, including institutions like MIT and China's Dalian Medical University. Beyond her therapeutic work, she is an award-winning poet and songwriter expressing her artistry in various mediums. Dr. Kaparo directs Carencia, training dancers for trauma survivors, aligning with her commitment to art as spiritual activism. As a co-founder of the Bay Area Functional Medicine Group, she's engaged in innovative health projects. Her upcoming works include a book on neuroplasticity for the aging brain and titles like Ecstatic Birthing and Transformational Global Leadership. In addition to her literary contributions, Dr. Kaparo is the executive editor of Poets of Witness, dedicated to freedom and compassion through poetry. Her diverse endeavors reflect a profound dedication to healing, mindfulness, and social activism. Put your hands together and welcome the amazing Risa Kaparo.
Oh,
All right. So happy to have you here. Thank you, my dear.
thank you, Amy. It's a pleasure, really.
Oh, so cool. So we have a mutual friend, Dr. Gary Malkin. He's like a doctor to me. He's multi Emmy winner. We get to use his music later when we do meditation moment, and he is both of our friends. And he's been saying for years we need to connect. And so here we are, so excited to finally connect with you, my dear. You are an amazing human, and have done amazing things for the planet. So today we're going to talk about somatic intelligence. For the audience, what does somatic mean exactly?
Well, we use that term, which comes from the Greek, uh, because we don't have another word for that in English. Like, oftentimes it's mistranslated into English as body, but in English, body generally is like a third person object, at a distance. We know, like, medicine studies the body, or we might rub cream on our body or try to get our body more fit, like inferring a kind of outside relationship to something that's solid and continuous over time, basically. And somatic is describing how life is self-sensing, and it's self-correcting, self-organizing, self-renewing. And the intelligence that governs all of that we call somatic intelligence, how the system is able to do that. Yeah.
So we're not taught this in school, obviously. And so could you give us a personal example of what happened to you that led you into this work?
Oh God. Yes, I'd be happy to share a little bit of my story. So I started out professionally as a fiber artist, and I designed a playground for Navajo children with all their sun signs and mythology woven into it. And I got a commission to build it in Arizona on a reservation. And I was told it was going to be shell, that we had to get our posts in these big telephone poles. It turned out to be solid rock. And so my, at the time, 97 pounds were kind of flying off the jackhammers.
You were working the jackhammer.
Yeah. And all of us did. We had to take turns. Nobody could stay on that jackhammer too long.
Wow.
And I had an IUD at the time, and the IUD cut through my uterine wall, and I had an infected pregnancy. And then I wound up getting an emergency abortion,
Hmm.
and that saved my life. But I continued to bleed internally and externally, and I didn't realize that I was bleeding internally, and I developed pelvic inflammatory disease and endometriosis, and I was just in so much pain, and I knew how sort of to meditate, to sort of be mindfully unattached to the pain, because I had all these apprentices that stayed on at this sort of Ivy League prep school that I was the art department chairperson of. They stayed an extra year to do this playground with me, and I was so committed to them. And then we lived with the children on the reservation, and they were all playing around us as we were weaving, and I just felt like I could not disappoint them. So I thought, okay, when I finish this playground in 2 months, I can rest and I'll recover, and I'll, give more attention to this. But now I'm just going to live, as if the pain wasn't an issue to me, kind of. And that's what I did. And it got worse and worse because every step caused more bleeding, and
Yeah.
it was tearing apart scar tissue that was building. Just trying to move my bowels was unbelievable, so I went to a series of doctors when I finished the playground, and they all agreed that the only thing that could be done for me and needed to be done because of all of this bleeding was to give me a radical hysterectomy. But because there was so much scar tissue that was attaching with my colon, they thought I could lose a big part of my colon and wind up maybe on a bag, and I was incredibly young. And it was huge just hearing I would never have another child. But
Yeah.
um, I just intuitively, I just felt like I can't do this. I can't, I was supposed to sign this thing saying that when they're in there, they'll do what they need to do, take out what they need to take out, but they had already, revealed to me that I would probably most likely continue to bleed because I had endometrial tissue all over at that point, and that I would probably continue to have pain the rest of my life. And I thought, what's the point of having them cut me all apart if I'm still going to be in pain and I'm still going to bleed and I'm still going to deteriorate,
Right.
you know? So I decided to just take some time, and I knew because my brain wasn't working well, because I was on so much pain medication, that I needed to get off the pain medication first so that I could research or meditate or something and get some answer of how to proceed. And I didn't know really how to do that. And I reflected back on my time teaching the blind art, and I had spent an hour every single day blindfolded so I could enter their world with them
Mhm.
and see how to unfold this idea of visual art to the people who were blind since birth. And they taught me so much more than I taught them. And during that time, I happened to have had an abscess. And while I was waiting to have this tooth root canaled, I I did my meditation anyway, and I had had all this incredible throbbing my whole head, and it felt like there was a knife in my eye. And when I did this blindfold meditation, I used to call it, um, I sensed that everything that I thought was solid, when I sensed it from the inside, it actually responded to me, and I could feel movement. And as I tuned into the movement, I could feel movements within the movements. So it became like a symphony. And when I followed the waves of those movements, the pain actually, at first it felt like somebody had pulled the knife out of my eye, and then the intense throbbing in my head just dissipated, and I felt deeply connected, and the pain finally resolved. And it actually had turned out that I healed the abscess in my tooth. But I mean, I didn't really think that that was going to help me. I just thought if I could control the pain by doing this blindfold meditation, then I could get off the pain medicine and then start researching. And that's what I did. And quite to my own surprise, I found that not only had I been able to live without the pain, I I actually found that I was dissolving the scar tissue. And as they did more testing on me, they were shocked to see that. And over time started to regenerate. And, I stopped bleeding internally, and like a year later started to have cycles again. And of course they said, you'll never have a child though, that. And I thought, okay, and so I never used birth control. And quite to my own surprise, 13 years later, I got pregnant naturally and had the most ecstatic pregnancy, because that was I love doing ecstatic birthing and bonding with women, and gave
What
birth at
what
home in
is
a
what
tub.
is what is a static birth?
Ecstatic birthing and bonding. Well, so when you learn to transform your relationship to gravity, so you're no longer like fighting gravity, trying to hold yourself up against the force of gravity, but you learn to allow gravity to do what it does. It draws you to the center of the earth. And because the ground breaks your fall, there's an equal and opposing force that rises up. And when you learn to surf, like I feel on the breath, that I'm surfing those waves and
Mm.
floating upright. And so instead of fighting gravity, you're actually using gravity. And when you learn to do that and ride those waves, what we call an elongation of the spine, instead of pushing a baby out, you can keep elongating your spine, elongating your spine, elongating your spine, making so much room that the baby can come out without being forced or pushed. And
Really?
it's ecstatic rather than excruciating.
Wow. I have never in my life heard this. This is why I do this show, because of all the amazing things we learn together. Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then the baby isn't traumatized by the birth, and the mother isn't traumatized or drugged. And so then the bonding can be immediate and infinite in it's such a different thing for the first moments of life to be without trauma. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. Where do I'm blown away. Why don't we know this?
Well, I've been working on a video series with a number of births that I facilitated in pregnancies and a book, but there are so many projects that I've worked on around the world, and
Yeah.
I've had 27 years now on that project. And soon I hope I even have the website done for it. But I haven't posted it yet because there's just been too many other things, but I am going to get it out into the world for sure.
Well, when you do, let us know, and we'll help let it be known, because this is important.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
this is really important. Life is hard enough without coming into the world all traumatized.
Yeah. I thought it was so beautiful when the Dalai Lama won the Nobel Prize. He did his compassion tour around the world, and he said two main things and almost every talk he gave. And one was that many times he'd say, my words can't reach someone no matter what I say, but a touch that just receives them with love and holds them there, anybody can receive that.
Mm.
The other thing he said, to change the world so we have a less violent and compassionate world, the most important thing is to care for our pregnant women
Oh.
and young children, because that's what's gonna change the world. Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
True. Amazing. Okay, so you went through the birth, and then what happened?
Well, I was already teaching my work, because when I healed from my illness, I thought I would just continue on as an artist.
Yeah.
But friends would tell somebody who had endometriosis or pelvic inflammatory disease, that's the way it started, was women who were in pain, would come and say, oh my God, we heard that you healed, and I'm going in for surgery for fibroids. I'm going in to get a hysterectomy. I'm going in for this and that. Is there anything that you could tell me that could help? And I started just helping people, when I could, because having been in that kind of pain, you have such compassion, and before I knew it, it was a full-time thing. I mean, it was, and then it was like no longer women with female issues. Now it was people with cancer and people with, and, and then I thought, my master's was in fiber art. I wound up.
Usually do what we go to school with for anyways.
So I thought, oh my gosh, if I'm going to do this full time, because I never had time to do my art anymore. And so I decided to go back, and I already thought there's no way I want to study traditional Western medicine, and be that kind of doctor. And because I realized that it was the state of consciousness that I was working in most, and this embodied awareness, somatic awareness, I decided to get my master's and doctorate in psychology with an emphasis on the somatic aspects, the actual biological response of the organism to consciousness. And then I went on to teach in the Graduate School for Consciousness Studies, the first one in the United States, and also at CIAS at the doctoral program in transformative learning and change, how we can change systems, including our own biological system and psychological system from the inside out, and how we can heal trauma, physical and emotional. So yeah, that's, and then how to bring that into communities and the kind of violence there. And so I've worked a lot in working with government leaders and in doing that, and practicing dialogue as a form of social meditation, not just conflict resolution, but to begin to develop compassionate ways of communicating that transcends our specific kind of ideology and begins to resolve paradoxes that can't be seen through until we see from a much more expansional, or what I call implicate perspective. And then the paradox is just naturally resolved, so there doesn't have to be the same kind of conflict and opposition. And so, yeah.
How did it go with the world leaders? How did they take that new way of being and seeing the world and each other?
It's been I actually have been very moved by, when I've taught at MIT for that, or Jindal Global University in India, and at CIIS, we had, in that doctoral program, it was organized in weekends once a month, and people flew in from all over who were already working as education board leaders, or city council people, or in governance, and I was so taken by how immediately apprehendable. That's the beauty, of working through a somatic intelligence, is that we have built in this incredible biofeedback system, right? That's so much more refined than any biofeedback system, even today, that's been created. Like, when I first started studying craniosacral work, like 40 years ago or something, maybe 45 years ago, something like that, they used to think this was this esoteric thing, because none of the instruments could ever measure this movement that we were feeling. The refinement of our intelligence is so beyond what any instrumentation can sense. And so we have a built-in biofeedback system that can help us learn into becoming whatever our soul is yearning to become, and it's so lovely to break the conditioning that take people away from that, because we go to school and we're told sit still, ignore everything that impulse that comes, every curiosity or meaning need or need to move or whatever is going on, ignore everything and just pay attention to the teacher and the board. And
Yeah.
we're told, all these kinds of, our conditioning is always to override, ignore what's going on internally and pay attention some other way, and effort and strain and struggle and put our shoulder to the grindstone, kind of
No
thing.
pain, no gain.
Right. And this is actually the absolute opposite. This is, my most dear, the greatest gift of my life has been all the extraordinary teachers that I had the incredible opportunity to learn from. And every day I wake up and it's the first thing, like my gratitude to all of them. And of all of them, the one that I am most grateful for is Vanda Scaravelli, who I got the opportunity to be a protege of for about 25 years before she
Wow.
passed. And she taught a radically different kind of yoga. And it was all about not doing. And what was so interesting is Krishnamurti lived with her each summer in Gestad, and Krishnamacharya sent his two best students, Desikachar and Iyengar. Each year was one or the other because he felt neither of them were quite right by themselves to be teaching Krishnamurti yoga. And Vanda, they studied together. And if you know anything about Krishnamurti's life, he had this thing they called the process. And he was in incredible pain and sometimes blacked out from it for days at a time. And Vanda realized as she got deeper into the practice that, oh, this was the energy trying to move through his spine, and it couldn't get through, and that was why it was causing so much pain. And so she took over teaching Krishnamurti yoga, and she took something from each Iyengar and Desikachar. Desikachar, the kind of ease and yin-like practice, but she had the passion of Iyengar to always stretch the envelope and go beyond any limitation, but to do it with no effort, and so she actually wound up healing Krishnamurti from this quote process that was excruciating for like 40 years.
Wow.
And then started to teach more people that came in from all over the world one by one, and to learn her method. And I actually, when she was like 92 or 3, she had a fall and broke, her bones actually crumbled because she had an osteoporosis. Her one femur and both hips. And so she had them replaced at like 93.
Wow.
And I went to help her recover from that. And so I was shocked because within maybe 6 months of having all these new bones in her 90s, she was already doing back bends from standing to the ground and back up without any effort, all new bones.
Wow.
I mean, yeah, like upright water, just like
Wow.
a ball. Woo!
And this is all from working with gravity instead of against it.
Exactly.
So could you give us an idea of how to tune in to our bodies in a more intelligent way?
Yeah. Very happily. I wonder, let me ask you, do you think I can move this and stand, or I could do it sitting? I think it's a little easier for people to initiate because I don't know what they're
Just
sitting
move
on.
your screen.
It's
Just
okay.
yep, yep.
Okay. Okay.
There
I'm going
you
to stand up. You can only see, let me move just a tiny bit more so that maybe you can get a little more of my body. Um, well, okay, doesn't matter. So the sacrum is an interesting center, and actually, it's named for, it means sacred. It's the sacred portal that connects heaven and earth through our system. And so the first thing I want to encourage people to do, and because everybody could be sitting very differently, I'm going to suggest you stand if you're willing to take a moment to just explore this, to imagine that your sacrum is an anchor, like an anchor in a boat. And if somebody pulled out the base plank of the boat and that anchor could fall through the water, of course, gravity is going to call it toward the center of the earth. And you're just going to allow the sacrum to be anchored. You're not going to tuck it or push it. You're just going to let gravity have its way with your sacrum. And you might begin to notice that your pelvis floats. And instead of being held on your legs, your pelvis is actually floating on your legs now. And if you can extend your presence beyond your sacrum to feel into, like in earlier evolution, our tails, and maybe imagine your tail has a fluffy end like a lion. And see if you can caress the ground with your fluffy tail. You may notice that that may have shifted your weight more toward the heels than in the forefoot. And if you can now, begin to imagine that your heels are the taproot. And when gravity draws you to the center of the earth and the ground breaks that fall, there's an opposing force that rises up. If you can begin to sense that support that's equal to the pull down, and it may be subtle at first, but to help you sense that, I'm going to suggest that you take a moment and do that beautiful exhale we talked about, where the diaphragms in the pelvis and the diaphragms around the kidneys empty your breath. And then while you're doing that, let yourself rest your pelvis, almost like there's a bar stool behind you and you just rested your sit bones on that bar stool. And that should soften your knees a bit. You don't have to do a full knee bend. And if you do this well, your spine will grow a little bit so you don't go up and down. It just will accommodate that shift. And then let the breath always, just by releasing the diaphragms, let it come to you effortlessly. And then on the next exhale, I want you to sense into the reciprocal relationship between the knees, which are actually a weight transfer joint, not a weight bearing joint. So you might notice if you sat on that bar stool, that the knees are empty. There's no weight in the knees. The weight transferred through the heels into the ground, right? So now, if we continue to really pay attention to the anchoring of the sacrum while we extend the knees to their full length, we may notice that there is no way to lock our knees if the sacrum is released to gravity. If gravity has its way with your sacrum, you can keep extending your knees infinitely and never lock them. See if you can feel that. Because when you find that, you'll discover that your roots have interpenetrated the ground, the taproot through the heel, and also the more superficial root system that comes from the rest of the ground. So it's almost like you're aerating the soil with the energy that's coming through your body. And at the same time, the ground is infusing your body with its energy, its equal and opposing forces. See if you can feel that energy not only floating your pelvis, but also floating your head. So there needs to be no muscles holding the head or neck. And just for a moment, enjoy what it feels like. You can try it again. Just gently letting yourself sitting back, just letting the knees bend slightly. On one exhale, letting the breath come as you release those diaphragms effortlessly, and then anchoring the sacrum again as you extend the knees, and see if you can feel a little bit of the beginning of that wave of elongation going through the spine, meaning that from the sacrum it's going down, and omnidirectionally it's going up like a wave going in two directions. From the waist down, from the waist up. Yeah. All right. I hope that gives some sense initially of, could you feel it, Amy?
I think for a moment, it's
Uh-huh.
it's definitely something you have to practice like anything. Um,
Yes.
and clearly you've been doing it a long time, because it was just like, oh yeah, she's a master. So, yeah, it was. You can move your screen down now, so
Okay.
yeah, yeah, nice. Thank you so much. Amazing. Can you believe we're out of time already? So wild. But I want everyone to have a place to find you. So go to awakening somatic intelligence.com, and you'll find Risa there. You'll see all the things she's up to, and she's into tango. She's an amazing tango dancer, and she's won awards with her writing and her poetry, and she's just stacked with all kinds of gifts. So thank you for blessing us here today, Risa. I appreciate you so much. I'll have you back at the end of the show. I'm going to ask you this question. We want to know, if you're on a mountaintop and you had the whole world at the foot of the mountain listening and paying attention to you, and you had only one thing to share, what would be that one thing? So I'll have you back at the end. Right now, it is time for mantra magic. To think for a second. We'll see you in a minute. All right. So excited to have Mantra Magic back. Amazing. I have Fernanda Goni with me, and you can find us every week on Instagram on Mondays, Mantra Magic Mondays at Amy Joy Coaching. You can go there and hear the mantra again and again and again, and get that in your head and in your mind. And this helps rewrite programs. Often we're saying things like, "I'm not good enough," or "Life is hard," and these things don't serve. So here is your mantra for the week. Welcome to Mantra Magic. I'm here with Fernanda Goni, and here's your mantra for the week.
My breath connects me to life. My breath connects me to life. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. My breath connects me to life. My breath connects me Make today glorious. Mwah.
All right, there's your mantra for the week. So cool how that works out. I did not know what Risa was going to talk about today. And here is the mantra, aligning perfectly, of course. So cool, so cool. All right, it is now time for meditation moment. All right, this is the part of the show where we take just 5 minutes to get present. So grab your kids, your grandkids, everybody in the room, sit down. This is 5 minutes. Grab them quick, and have a seat. We're going to listen to Gary Malkin, our mutual friend, Gary Malkin's music. He shared this with me, and this is our music for meditation moment every week. And we're going to take 5 minutes. So I want you to just sit comfortably. You don't have to be cross-legged. Just sit where you're comfortable. You're going to put your hands on your knees. All right. And I'm going to start the music here. I want you to take a deep breath in. Hold at the top. And when you exhale, make a big sigh. And smile. Take another breath. And exhale. Let the day wash off. Just let it wash off. Okay, so now I want you to just notice your breath. Notice how the air enters your nose, the way it feels when it exits. Just notice. And breathe. Now I want you to notice, how are you feeling right now? There are really only two states. You're either crappy or happy. And don't make it right or wrong, good or bad. Just notice, which one are you right now? And breathe. And now I want you to notice, what thoughts are passing through your mind. Are they thoughts of the past? Are they more thoughts of the future? Or are you here right now? Again, don't make it right or wrong, good or bad. Just notice and breathe. Now I want you to visualize a candle floating right in front of your eyes. Notice the golds, the yellows, the reds, the oranges. And slowly slide that candle right into the center. And watch it flicker there. And breathe. With a deep breath in, hands on your heart. I want you to think of one thing you are so grateful for. It puts a smile on your face. And as you're in this expanded place, I'm going to send you an energetic activation. This is called a Diksha. Just receive it with love. Beautiful. And with a deep breath in, come back, come back, come back. Come back and breathe. Well done. Thank you for doing that with me. It's amazing what 5 minutes of presence will do. This is called the Serene Mind Practice. You can find it on YouTube. I learned it from my teachers in India. I do it throughout the day. My other favorite one is Soul Sync. So check that one out too. It's a 12, 13-minute meditation. But being present, it's very important. And we're not in our messed up past or our projected messed up future. We're just right here, right now, and it's perfect. So thank you for that. I'm going to have Risa come back on. There you are. Hi, honey.
Beautiful.
How was that for you?
Beautiful.
Good. Awesome. So we would love to hear your nugget. What is your golden nugget? If you were on a mountain and you had the whole world at your feet, listening and paying attention, and you just had one thing that you could share, what would that be? We have 3 minutes.
I did a birthday ritual with a friend where I supported them in feeling their longing, like Rumi and Kabir and the Sufi poets emphasize. All the ecstatic emphasis is on letting the longing do the work. And the way I expressed it to him in beginning this new journey around the sun, and all of us are in this new year, beginning this new journey around the sun. And instead of reacting to things with the no, the fear, the retreat, the reaction of the sympathetic nervous system or the freeze, to actually relax and taking, like we just did in the very beginning, this breathing, and you did so beautifully just now, to relax out of this, the efforting to get somewhere, do something, be better in some way, and to actually begin to feel just the simplest things, like the starlight coming in with your breath without any effort, or gravity drawing you to the center of the earth and the opposing force rising through you, and lean into what you love, like you're opening to something delicious. I think of when I enter the water here, that sense of just like leaning into it. Yes. And if you can lead with your yes, just by that drinking in, just like the starlight and the energy of all teachers and masters and your ancestors and the planet unfolding, all coming in all at once in the present, in this moment to nourish you. And so when you exhale, why not kiss back to all of that? Drinking in and kissing back. It allows us to let what we love become who we are. Yeah.
I love that. Here at Get Your Shit Together, we say life's a roller coaster. And there's dips and there's turns and there's twists. It's just the way it is. And we can have our arms in the air going, look, Mom, no hands, enjoying it. Or we can literally be terrified and hate every second. Same ride, completely different experience. So say yes to the roller coaster, right? Say yes. Say yes. Say yes to life. Say yes to life.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for your heart. Most of all, I love your heart. I love your heart for this planet, for me, for the people everyone that you meet, the people you've connected me to in just the brief time that we've been able to spend some time together. I'm excited to know those people and to be able to connect you to people as well. And what we say here is together we vibrate higher. And that, my friends, changes the world. We'll see you next week. We're doing actually every 2 weeks now, but we'll have a rerun next week. Thank you for spending your very special and precious time with us. Take a deep breath in and say yes to life. We'll see you soon. Thank you for watching Get Your Shit Together live with Amy Joy. If you'd like to follow us, you can on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Amy Joy Coaching. Appreciate so much your likes, comments, and shares. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, please reach out. We'll see you next time.